Hey guys, it's Jess with Solbee Home. This week I'm going to show you the tutorial for the Art of Sadness decoupage paper mixed with paint. And together these two elements create a unique piece of furniture that is really meant to evoke emotion. This is of course upcycled from my favorite thrift store. It already had these really cool metal panels that were gold, and I don't know if you've noticed, I like gold a lot. I had already previously done the prep work for this piece. It really just needed a good cleaning. I used a crud cutter outside and of course let it dry really good. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Rust-Oleum chalked in linen white, and I'm doing this as a primer base as well. I know this is going to stick really well. It's got really good adhesion. Since these door faces are very, very tight, I'm just doing a really light coat over them. I want to make sure that they don't stick, and I'm not going to bother painting the inside because it would just not work on these kind of doors when they're that tight. Next up, I went ahead and put a layer of Mod Podge on each side of my little cabinet. I make sure to cover the whole thing really well. Now that the Mod Podge is completely dry, I can go ahead and place my paper. I covered the whole side so I can put it where it needs to go without a problem. And then when I'm ready to glue it down, I go ahead and get my iron and a piece of parchment paper and just iron it over really well. Now I'm going to go ahead and seal it with Mod Podge on top of the paper. I'm not too concerned about the wrinkles that it creates because I'm going to go back over it with an iron again. After it's had time to completely dry, I'm going to go ahead and iron it out again. Now I'm just going to take a piece of sandpaper and go across the edges and tear off the remaining paper. And now since this piece is small enough, I can flip it upside down. It makes it a little easier to paint the bottom portion. I'm using Licorice. It's a black paint by Country Chic. I'm a Country Chic retailer, so that's why I use a lot of Country Chic paint. This black is essentially an underpainting for the rest of the blend that I'm gonna do. I wanted to do the white layer as my primer layer because it helps the paper stand out better when it's got a lighter background. Sometimes I'll use dark background depending on the decoupage paper that I'm using. But this paper is already so dark, I think if you do a dark color underneath, you're gonna lose a lot of the detail. Now for the fun part of kind of blending the edges of the paper and getting it's like a cloudy look to it. So I'm gonna use the Licorice, and I'm using a color called Sunday Tea. I have a clean brush for each color, and then for blending I'm going to use an artist mop brush, and I have a little slow mist bottle of water nearby too. I like to really blend the edges, and especially on both sides, kind of up towards the paper, but then I really don't want to take any of the details away if I can help it. Now I want to do some faded stripes in the background of this cabinet, and to do this you just use painter's tape and you just alternate your painter's tape to give you that clean distance between each stripe. It's also worth noting that I waited a day till I did this because I don't want to pull off any of that work I did from the blending. Now I've got my little mini natural sponge, and I just mixed it a little bit with water there just to get it ready for paint. Now I'm just going to apply my paint in a way that is rustic and very faded looking. That way it doesn't take away from the overall look of the piece and just kind of blends into the background. I usually dip it just a little bit in the lid. When I shake my paint up, it gets on the lid, so then I can control how much I apply to the sponge a little bit easier. And then I like to keep a piece of cardboard nearby and I blot it on that before I apply it to my piece. Now I'm just taking a paper towel and wiping a little bit of that paint back. I went ahead and took this time while I had a sponge with the gold on it to go over the edges, just to kind of highlight those pieces with the gold and give it a little bit more of an aged look. Now I'm just using my Cricut. This was just a little extra thing to do when you are really sad or if you've ever gone through depression. I think that you've got to choose to get up, whether you have someone helping you, you have religion, whatever it is. At the end of the day, you have to choose to get up or you'll stay where you are. And sometimes it's okay to stay where you are, but at some point you do have to choose to get up. I thought this was really fitting for this piece, and I like how it's inside the cabinet. Gives it like a little hidden message. I did create this piece based on a personal experience from going through a divorce, which I am happily remarried now, but there is a time there going through that big life change that was really, really hard. So if you are going through something like that, just know I get it. I'm thinking about you. I hope you can choose to get up when you're ready. If you're interested in this Cricut portion, I just use a little removable vinyl and I put a little box around my letters so that I can weed the letters out as essentially a stencil. I chose to do a clear spray for the sealer, and here is the final result. I appreciate you watching this. I hope that you can use some of these elements in your own crafting. It was really fun to make, even though it's a little bit of an emotional project. If you have any questions or if this has inspired you, please leave a comment below. I love to see that. And remember to like and subscribe. Have an awesome week.